Pick it up.
You brought me to Tokyo to serve drinks at my own husband's engagement party?
Your husband? Nam doesn't even know your name!
Tell them I'm your wife.
I'm sorry. I've never seen you before.
Now clean the floor and leave my fiancé alone.
Then ask him why he's still wearing the other one. He may have forgotten me, but you didn't.
8 weeks earlier, Maya still believed her husband was dead. 8 weeks earlier, Maya sat alone in their Seattle apartment, clutching Ren's wedding ring and believing she had already lost him. 12 days had passed since he flew to Tokyo to tell his family about the private civil ceremony they had held 11 months earlier. Ren knew his mother would oppose their marriage, but he had promised Maya he was ready to surrender his inheritance, rather than hide her any longer. During their final video call, a black sedan arrived outside the airport. "I'll call you when this is over," he said before the screen went dark. The following morning, Keiko called from Ren's phone and claimed his car had crashed during a rainstorm. She refused to provide a death certificate, allow Maya to attend the funeral, or explain where he had been buried. Instead, a family attorney sent Maya a non-disclosure agreement. Then Maya received a photograph taken that morning in Tokyo. Ren was alive, leaving a private hospital with Aiko holding his arm. Maya initially assumed the photograph was old, but the Tokyo news agency confirmed it had been taken less than 6 hours earlier. When she confronted Keiko, Ren's mother finally abandoned the lie. Ren had survived the crash with a severe brain injury, but he could no longer remember the 2 years he had spent in Seattle, including meeting or marrying Maya. "My son has been given a chance to correct his worst mistake," Keiko said. Within an hour, a family attorney emailed Maya divorce papers and offered her $500,000 to sign them, surrender Ren's ring, and never contact him again. If she refused, they threatened to accuse her of taking money from one of Ren's private accounts. Maya rejected the payment, copied their marriage license, photographs, and messages onto 3 separate drives, then used her emergency savings to book the next flight to Tokyo. Before boarding, she received one final message from Keiko. "Come if you wish. He will look into your face and see a stranger." After a 14-hour flight, Maya went directly to Shirogane Medical Center, where Ren occupied a guarded private wing. She showed the receptionist her passport and certified marriage license, but Keiko held temporary medical authority, while Ren recovered and had removed Maya from the visitor list. Maya waited nearly 6 hours before Keiko finally appeared beside Aiko. Looking over Maya's rain-soaked coat and exhausted face, Keiko said, "You should have accepted the money, at least then this humiliation would have purchased something." Maya demanded 5 minutes with her husband. Keiko leaned closer. "Ren remembers his family, his education, and every duty awaiting him. You are the only part of his life that disappeared. Perhaps his mind understood you never belonged." Through the glass behind them, Maya saw Ren sitting beside a window, while Aiko adjusted the blanket over his knees. Maya called his name and he turned toward her without recognition. Aiko immediately closed the curtain, but Maya noticed Ren's fingers move instinctively toward the chain beneath his hospital gown. 2 hours later, a nurse found Maya outside the hospital and said Ren had requested 10 minutes alone with her. Inside his room, he appeared thinner, with a healing cut above his temple, but his voice carried the same controlled calm she remembered. On the table lay a file prepared by Keiko, describing Maya as an architect who had met Ren during a Takahashi hotel project in Seattle, pursued him for money, and transferred funds without permission. Maya placed their certified marriage license beside it, but Ren barely touched the document. "If we were truly married, Why would everyone I trust warn me against you? He asked. Maya fought back tears. Because they only needed you to forget me once. I've been forced to remember everything alone. Ren asked her not to approach him again until he could verify her claims. As Maya reached the door, he removed the chain beneath his gown, revealing his wedding ring. Why was I wearing this after the crash? Maya looked back. Because you promised that even when no one could see it, you would still be my husband. Before Maya reached her hotel, the director of Westbridge Design called from Seattle. Takahashi Group had filed a formal complaint accusing her of using project credentials to divert $180,000 from one of Ren's corporate accounts. Although Maya denied touching the money, Westbridge placed her on unpaid leave while its lawyers investigated. Minutes later, her hotel key stopped working. The property belonged to the Takahashi family, and management had been instructed to remove her as a security risk. Maya found her suitcases waiting beside the entrance, where Aiko had conveniently gathered 2 gossip reporters. This woman was a temporary contractor who became obsessed with Ren, Aiko told them. His injury has encouraged her fantasy. Maya held up her marriage license, but Aiko laughed. A piece of paper may prove you trapped him into signing something. It will never make you worthy of his name. Maya refused to argue for the cameras. She recorded every word, collected her luggage, and moved into a small business hotel across the city. By midnight, Japanese headlines were calling her the American imposter. The next morning, Maya contacted the American consulate and found Naomi Sato, a Tokyo attorney experienced in international civil disputes. Naomi verified that the Washington marriage license was genuine and explained that the Takahashi family could conceal the marriage from the public, but they could not simply declare that it had never existed. Together, they examined the financial complaint sent to Westbridge. The alleged transfer had been approved through a physical security token assigned to Ren's executive office in Tokyo at 4:17 p.m. on the day Maya was flying across the Pacific without internet access. Someone inside Takahashi Group had authorized the payment, then attached Maya's old project credentials to it. Naomi immediately sent preservation notices, demanding that the bank, Westbridge, and Takahashi Group retain every access log and security recording connected to the transaction. Maya was no longer staying in Tokyo merely to recover her husband. She intended to recover her name. That evening, an unknown number sent her a message. "This is Ren, meet me tomorrow. I want to hear how we met." With no one else in the room, Ren chose a small cafe behind Hibiya Park and arrived without his mother, Aiko, or the attorneys who had been answering for him. Maya told him they had met during the renovation of a Takahashi hotel in Seattle, where he introduced himself as an operations coordinator rather than the family heir. She had argued with him over unsafe conditions for the cleaning staff, and instead of firing her, he stayed until midnight helping redesign their workspace. Ren remembered none of it. When the server approached, however, he ordered black coffee for himself and an oat milk latte with 1 pump of vanilla and no cinnamon for Maya. Both of them froze. "How did I know that?" he asked. "It doesn't prove we were married. It proves some part of you once listened." Ren admitted that removing the ring from his chain made him feel as though he had misplaced something important. Before leaving, he asked to see her again. Across the street, Aiko's driver photographed them through the windshield. When Ren returned to the Takahashi residence, Keiko placed the photographs from the cafe across his desk. Ren asked whether his marriage license was genuine, forcing his mother to admit that the document was legally valid. She claimed he had married Maya while isolated in Seattle, then hidden it because he knew the relationship was shameful. Ren immediately recognized another deception. Keiko had allowed the press to call Maya's marriage a fantasy. Aiko then explained the pressure behind their renewed engagement. Her family controlled 18% of Takahashi Group, enough to determine whether Ren became chairman or his uncle Daichi took control at the upcoming board vote. Ren had ended his arrangement with Aiko before meeting Maya, but Keiko now wanted it restored. "I will not become engaged while I am still married," Ren said. He demanded an independent investigation into Maya's financial accusations before signing anything. That night, Aiko sent Maya the cafe photograph with a message. "You may own the years he cannot remember, but I own the future everyone expects him to choose." The following morning, a courier delivered 2 suitcases to Maya's hotel with a note from Keiko. These are the possessions you are entitled to keep. The Seattle apartment where Maya and Ren had lived was leased through Takahashi Group, and while Maya was flying to Japan, company employees had entered without warning and removed everything. Her clothes had been returned, but their wedding album, Ren's letters, and a red notebook containing Maya's private memories of their relationship were missing. She had written down his favorite meals, the song played at their wedding, and the vows they had exchanged. When Maya informed Ren, he did not question whether she was lying. Instead, he ordered the Seattle property manager to preserve the building's security footage. "I may not remember what belonged to us," he told her, "but no one has the right to steal what belongs to you." The recording showed Keiko's employees boxing the apartment, while Aiko's personal assistant carried the red notebook away separately. Ren watched the footage twice, then asked Maya, "What was in that book that Aiko was so afraid I might read?" At a private dinner celebrating Ren's recovery, Aiko arranged for a pianist to perform the song from Maya's wedding, and told the guests it had always been special to her and Ren. She then raised her glass and repeated a line Maya had written in the red notebook. "Even if the world separates us, my heart will remember the way home." Ren recognized it from Maya's description of their vows. After the guests left, he confronted Aiko and demanded the notebook. She admitted taking it, but insisted she had only been trying to restore the life he was supposed to have. "Those memories belong to Maya," Ren replied. "You used them to make me trust you." The next morning, he personally returned the notebook to Maya. Several pages had been removed, including the final entry she wrote before his flight to Tokyo. Ren apologized, but Maya held the damaged book against her chest. "She isn't merely trying to marry you," she said. "She is erasing me and rebuilding herself in my place." That afternoon, rain began striking the cafe windows as Maya showed Ren photographs from their life in Seattle. The screech of brakes outside suddenly made his body stiffen. His breathing became shallow, and his hands began trembling as fragments of the crash returned without forming a complete memory. Maya moved closer but did not touch him. "Look at me. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can feel, 3 you can hear." Ren followed her voice until his breathing steadied. Then, without thinking, he whispered, "Maybird." Maya froze. It was the private nickname he had given her after she sang terribly during their first road trip. No photograph or legal document contained it. Ren reached for her hand, but Maya pulled back gently. "A remembered word cannot repair what your family has done." Ren nodded, wounded but respectful. "Then let me know you again without asking you to pretend nothing happened." Outside the cafe, Keiko watched from her car and realized her son was beginning to choose Maya without needing his missing memories. Ren gave Naomi written authority to cooperate with an independent forensic auditor. Bank records showed that his security token had been checked out by Aiko's assistant, Emi Kato, 90 minutes before the fraudulent transfer. Internal camera footage then placed Emi inside Keiko's executive suite at 4:17 p.m., using the same terminal identified in the transaction data. The evidence could clear Maya, but Ren wanted to learn who had ordered the scheme before revealing what they possessed. Keiko responded by reminding him that the board vote was only 10 days away. If the Mori family withdrew its support, Ren's uncle Daichi would become chairman and could terminate the audit. Keiko proposed a formal dinner celebrating Ren's recovery and the renewed business alliance between both families. Ren agreed to attend only after she promised there would be no engagement announcement and that the accusation against Maya would be withdrawn. That evening, Aiko sent Maya an invitation, claiming the settlement documents and missing pages from her notebook would be returned privately at the event. It was a trap, but Maya needed both. Before attending the dinner, Maya forwarded Aiko's invitation to Naomi and activated a recording app that automatically uploaded every file to secure cloud storage. At the Imperial Takahashi Hotel, the invitation's QR code directed her away from the main entrance and into a staff elevator. An event coordinator handed her a black service jacket and a tray of champagne, claiming she had been registered as temporary catering staff. Maya understood the humiliation immediately, but she also saw Aiko's assistant carrying an envelope marked with her name. She put on the jacket long enough to enter the ballroom and retrieve what belonged to her. Inside, Enormous screens displayed Ren and Aiko beneath the words, "A New Beginning." While guests discussed an engagement Ren had never approved, Aiko appeared in a white gown and showed Maya the missing notebook pages before sliding them into her clutch. "Serve my table, and perhaps I'll return these," she whispered. When Maya refused, Aiko deliberately poured champagne across the floor and dropped a towel beside her feet. "Pick it up." After Maya told Keiko, "He may have forgotten me, but you didn't." Ren turned toward the engagement display and demanded that it be switched off. Keiko insisted the announcement was necessary to protect his future, but Ren removed the ring from its chain and placed it back on his finger. "Maya Brooks is my lawful wife," he told the guests. "I did not authorize an engagement to anyone else." Aiko's smile disappeared for only a second before she signaled the technician. The screens changed to an email apparently sent from Maya's account, demanding $5 million in exchange for keeping their marriage out of the press. A second document showed the fraudulent transfer already reported to Westbridge. Aiko claimed she had invited Maya to return stolen property and accept a private settlement, only for her to arrive with further threats. Reporters surrounded Maya as security moved toward her. Ren stepped between them, but Maya raised one hand. "Let them show everything," she said. "Because the timestamp on that transfer proves exactly which one of us is lying." Maya texted a single word to Naomi, who entered the ballroom with the independent forensic auditor Ren had hired. With Maya's permission, they displayed her flight confirmation, phone records, and the bank's authentication log. At 4:17 p.m., when the money was transferred, Maya's plane had been over the Pacific for nearly 7 hours. The security token used to approve the payment had been signed out by Emi Kato and activated from a terminal inside Keiko's executive suite. Naomi then examined the alleged blackmail email. Its hidden routing data showed it had never passed through Maya's provider in Seattle. It had been created through Takahashi Group's internal mail gateway 2 hours before the gala. Ren confirmed that the auditor reported to an outside law firm, not to him or Maya. Aiko called the evidence fabricated, but Maya played the recording captured when she arrived. Aiko promising to return the stolen notebook pages only if Maya served her table. Maya faced the reporters. They did not invite a criminal here tonight. They created one, and expected humiliation to keep her silent. Aiko stopped pretending the evening was about love. She announced that the Mori family would transfer its 18% voting block to Daichi unless Ren confirmed their engagement before midnight. Daichi, who had been waiting among the investors, immediately called for an emergency board meeting the following morning. Keiko pulled Ren aside and begged him to protect the company by accepting Aiko publicly, even if he ended the arrangement later. Ren refused. "You already sacrificed my wife to preserve my position. I will not help you do it twice." Aiko then claimed Emi had acted alone, insisting she knew nothing about the forged transfer or email. Emi heard every word. Realizing she had been selected to carry the blame, she approached Naomi and said she possessed recordings of Aiko's instructions. Naomi explained that she could not represent both Maya and Emi, then arranged independent counsel for her before accepting any evidence. Emi agreed to cooperate through her new attorney. Before leaving, she looked at Aiko and said, "I kept copies because I always knew you would eventually call me disposable." At the emergency board meeting the next morning, Emi appeared with her own attorney and surrendered her phone to an independent forensic specialist. After its metadata and unedited files were authenticated, the recordings were played for the directors. In one, Aiko instructed Emi to use Keiko's terminal, attach Maya's credentials to the transfer, and make the American desperate enough to sign anything. In another, Keiko authorized the removal of Maya's belongings from the Seattle apartment before Ren could examine them. The board postponed the chairman vote, suspended Keiko from all company duties pending investigation, and referred the financial records to Tokyo police. Aiko tried to leave, but Emi's attorney revealed one final file. After Ren's crash, a voice message from him had reached his phone while Aiko was holding it at the hospital. She ordered Emi to delete it before he regained consciousness, saying, "If he hears whom he chose before that car hit him, Maya will become impossible to erase." Ren asked them to play it. Ren's voice filled the boardroom, strained but unmistakable. "Maya, I need to tell you something before I come home." For weeks, I considered asking you to leave me because my family threatened your career. I called it protection, but it was cowardice. Tonight, my mother demanded that I choose between you and the company. I chose my wife. Tomorrow, I will disclose our marriage to the board, and if they remove me, I will return to Seattle with nothing except the truth. I hope you can forgive me for almost letting fear make the decision for us. The message ended 23 minutes before the crash. Ren did not suddenly regain his memories, but he listened again with tears gathering in his eyes. Aiko insisted she had deleted it, because he had been confused and emotionally unstable. Ren looked at her with disgust. You did not protect me from a mistake. You stole my right to know what I had chosen. Then he turned toward Maya, but she could not celebrate. The recording proved his past love. It could not erase her present wounds. After the meeting, Keiko asked Maya for a private conversation, and claimed everything had been done to preserve Ren's future. Maya refused to soften the truth for her. You lied about his death, destroyed my reputation, stole my home, and watched another woman humiliate me. That was not one frightened decision, it was a campaign. Keiko lowered her eyes, but Maya did not offer forgiveness, merely because the powerful woman had finally lost control. Ren then offered to withdraw from the chairman race and return to Seattle with her. Maya shook her head. Do not sacrifice your position and make me responsible for what you lose. Repair the harm your family caused because it is right, not because you expect me to reward you with our marriage. She told him she believed he had loved her before the crash, and might love her again. But love was not the same as safety. Maya requested 6 months of formal separation, with no promises and no pressure. Ren removed his wedding ring, placed it back on its chain, and answered, I will respect whatever you choose. The consequences unfolded over the next 6 months rather than in a single dramatic punishment. Takahashi Group issued public corrections in both Japan and the United States, reimbursed Maya's legal expenses, and confirmed that she had never accessed Ren's executive account. Westbridge restored her position with back pay. But Maya resigned after telling its directors that an employer willing to abandon her, before examining the evidence, no longer deserved her loyalty. She opened a small architecture studio in Seattle, and won her first neighborhood redevelopment contract on the strength of her own work. Japanese prosecutors investigated Aiko, Keiko, and Emi's roles in the forged transfer. Emi received consideration for cooperating, while Aiko lost every public position within the Mori family organization. Keiko resigned from Takahashi Group and faced Maya's civil claims without receiving private forgiveness. The board appointed an independent interim chairman instead of rewarding Ren or Daichi. Ren cooperated with investigators, continued neurological therapy, and ensured every false story about Maya was formally corrected. He sent no jewelry, money, or grand declarations, only one respectful letter each month, as Maya had permitted. Ren's letters never asked Maya to remember him for both of them. He wrote about therapy, the choices he was making in Tokyo, and the fragments that sometimes returned: a rainy Seattle street, her laughter in a dark kitchen, the warmth of her hand inside his coat pocket. He admitted when he remembered nothing at all. On the final day of their 6-month separation, Maya received a message instead of a letter. I am in Seattle. I will leave tomorrow if you do not wish to see me. She agreed to meet him at a quiet cafe near her studio. Ren arrived alone, carrying no gifts and wearing no wedding ring on his hand. He told her he had declined the chairman nomination until the investigation was complete, but he had not abandoned his responsibilities. I cannot promise that every memory will return, he said, and I will not use our marriage to demand a place in your life. He placed the ring, still hanging from its chain, beside his coffee. Would you let me take you on a first date? Maya looked at the ring, but did not pick it up. One date, she said. You do not get your old place back, Ren. If you want a place in my life, you earn a new one, and this time, there are no secrets. Over the following year, Ren traveled between Tokyo and Seattle, attended counseling with Maya, and rebuilt trust through ordinary promises kept consistently. He never recovered every missing memory, and Maya stopped needing him to. Her architecture studio expanded, while Ren supported her work without purchasing it, controlling it, or asking her to abandon it for his world. On their anniversary, They renewed their vows privately, inside a community center Maya had designed. No investors, reporters, or powerful families were present. When Ren offered her the ring, Maya placed it on her own finger because returning was finally her decision. Their first marriage had survived in documents and stolen memories. Their second chance survived because both of them chose it honestly. If you were Maya, would you have forgiven Ren or walked away forever? Share you.